It is time for the Drew Yari Show. Drew Yari.
Yeah, look.
Dude, you're a genius.
I'm not a genius. I just, I don't know. Guess I know what I'm talking about, but that doesn't make me a genius.
D Extreme wants to come on. D Extreme. I think we're good tonight. We're waiting for Jeff Lippman to come on.
But stay though, for sure, man.
I mean, but definitely stay. But how are you doing, man? What's good with you?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. I'm doing great.
Nice to hear.
A lot of good wrestling this weekend, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Very wrestling or weekend as we've seen. The bank was yesterday, and then of course NXT was tonight. 2 pay-per-views that yeah.
Yeah, well, you could think there's a clock start time for that because they start an hour early than normal. Because usually it'll start at 7. These 2 pay-per-views they start at 6. You know what I mean? Got 9 p.m. I mean that they're doing or sports, so.
But Jeff Lippman's here. Jeff, what's up?
What's going on, everyone?
What up?
Jeff, Jeff, I think have you been on this show before with Justin? I think you have, right?
Yeah, once
like
in a
a
while.
couple times, yeah, handful of times.
But
I've never seen him before in a little box.
But yeah, Justin's got a very impressive array of Funko Pops.
They're not that impressive. It's a couple. It's a couple. I'm pretty sure anyone else's collection will trump mine. So I only got like 10 here, 15.
Well, I hope your inventory trumps your collection.
Well, my inventory does trump my collection. That it does, 100%.
Right. There we go. That's all we care about.
All right.
Bring the points to me.
All right, people. I guess we can start now. Welcome to the Money in the Bank and NXT Heatwave review show. Yeah, welcome. You already know who I am. I'm Drew, and with me as always.
You do as I take a drink.
Sorry about that.
Justin from Spinebuster Tees and SpinebusterTees.com.
And joining us tonight is our resident mad lawyer.
I'm mad about lots of things, not just being a lawyer. But hey, it's me, Jeff, or Evil Dose, or the Diabolical Lawyer, as known the Wrestling Soup Network. By the way, I did record another Black Letter Body Slam today, so I'm sure Mish will get around to that and put that up in the next, days or a few weeks.
Nice, can't wait to hear. So since it's fresh in everyone's minds, we're gonna start with NXT Heatwave. So NXT Heatwave just happened. It was in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and the Scotiabank Arena. I think I'm pronouncing that right. July 7th. Again, me and Justin were talking about this, where you got in, Jeff. 2 pay-per-views that ended before 9 p.m. or I guess 10 p.m. Eastern time, wherever you're at. And obviously, the time difference, both being in Canada, it's lovely. It's lovely to have a pay-per-view end, around 9-ish or 8:30, in our case. So makes the show so much easier to do.
Money in the Bank actually ended a little bit after 10 o'clock Eastern. That said, it ended, you could have watched the interesting parts of the press conference and still turned it off at 11. Money in the Bank I'm talking about, which I in fact did. But yeah, this show ended, it's 9:30 Eastern time right now. This is beautiful.
Yeah, I still see the sun up right now. I can't think of the last time when a pay-per-view ended when the sun's still up, so.
I guess probably like the overseas pay-per-views, if I had to guess. But
well, I'm talking about around this time.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about Clash of the Castle. Of course, the sun's still going to be up. So,
but it's a great sight to see. So, NXT Heatwave. There was a pre-show, which is surprising. You had Carmen Petrovic and Ariana Grace versus JC Jane and Jasmine Nix in a just a basic tag team match. It was 7 minutes and 40 seconds.
Hold on. There was nothing basic about these 4 women.
No. These women are not basic. I said the tag match. It was just a tag match.
You just call it a tag match then.
Okay, it's a tag match, Jeff. Chill. You chill.
You introduced me as the mad lawyer. I mean, and then you get upset with me when I'm mad.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so this is not a tag match. This is a tag match with 4 very beautiful women. You happy, Jeff?
Yeah, you're doing great.
It was a fun tag match. It was a nice way to kind of wake the crowd up. I believe the attendance was 11,000, which very.
I'm not sure if that's been fully confirmed. I know it's a sellout, but I'm not too sure. The attendance has been fully confirmed yet, but that seems about right though.
Which
Forbidden Door 3.
Nice. I mean, again, for a fucking developmental brand, it's still very impressive.
Without Hechicero.
Nice. Tag match, nice way to start the crowd up. Did you guys watch this match?
Yes. I did. It's they are mental. There's some people who are more advanced and developmental, so I wasn't looking for this match to be like, oh my god, a show stealer. But this was a good match for what it was. Ariana Grace is great at her character itself. She got the hot tag in this match, which I really expect, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, I thought this match was fun for what it was. It didn't overstay its welcome. It felt like, I think it was like under 10 minutes, I think.
7 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, so all 4 women here, they did a fairly decent job, trying to get the crowd, excited for what was to come later.
Jeff, what'd you think about the tag match?
I agree with what you said. I mean, I love the ending. How Ariana Grace pulled the hair and pulled the body over, and then Carmen got the win, which later on got, I know you did think it was chronological, so we'll get to that. But, I mean, JC Jane is, she's almost like a player coach down there. Jasmine Nix, was a college soccer player. And, she's just taken to this so well. The NIL program works especially well with the women. I say it loud, I say it loud. Ariana Grace, she was doing that great thing with Gigi Dolan. Gigi got injured somehow, and they were sort of figuring out what to do with her, but they knew they wanted to keep her on TV. And Carmen, they'd been working her out. She was pairing with Natty, and she was working with Lola Vice. So you knew that they saw things in Carmen Petrovic. So I don't know, putting this pairing together just because they're both from Toronto was great, but like it's gonna break up and have tension. I don't know. It might be like a mini little Sheamus Cesaro. They start off disliking each other, but realizing they're better together than apart. But who knows where it's going to go? But I thought it was really good, and they're a fun little team. And there are women's tag team titles on the that are both on the main roster and NXT. There aren't a lot of women's tag teams, and not developing women's tag teams is one of the glaring weaknesses in WEIC, probably in all the promotions, frankly. But I don't know. This could be, there's potential. But as Justin mentioned, Ariana Grace, her character is so good. She takes to it so well. The only possible problem is that you already have Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratus doing sort of versions of the same thing. But c'est la vie.
Yeah. And also to add to it too as well, because I don't know if it was during the show itself or if I saw it on Twitter, because I was sitting here on my computer watching the show. But it looks like they're going to have a one-on-one match, Carmen Petrovic and Ariana Grace on NXT. So whoever this tag team was just for the night because they're both from Canada. They're both from, I guess they're both from Toronto area. And they put them two together just for this moment, just for this match. Pre-show match, by the way. So it doesn't really hurt anything for it, for this match to happen on the pre-show just to break them up and have them go up against each other on Tuesday. So
The segment was great.
It was funny, yes.
They were sort of arguing about, who got the pin, and then Carmen, she got the pin, but Ariana's like, clearly I was a star, I'm the one who made it happen, and Carmen's like, no, we're a team, we win together, we lose together, and Ariana's like, well, one of we is better than the other. Which one is better? And Ava goes, well, neither am I, so why don't you two settle this on Tuesday, one-on-one? And Carmen's like, oh, I like it. And Ariana Grace just seamlessly says, it's really disgusting that you trying to tear apart a new tag team.
She's great. The character work is really great with her. She does not need to know how to wrestle great. If she's going to have this character, she's going to be in WWE for a long time.
Agreed. Yeah, she definitely has Daddy's personality.
Yeah.
So let's get to the main show. You had a last chance match for the NXT North American Championship, Obafemi versus Wes Lee. The stipulation being if Femi won, Lee would never challenge for the title as long as Femi is the American champion. Good match. This was a David and Goliath kind of match, or type of match, basically, where Femi was just beating the ever-living dog shit out of Wes Lee, and Wes Lee found a way to stay alive and still stay on his own 2 feet and get a little bit of offense in. One crazy spot where Femi does like a F5, but he like twirls Wes Lee in the air, which was just
F10.
F10, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And good back and forth action. I mean, predictable, but good predictable. Like sometimes predictable can be good. It just matters how you navigate it. In this case, this was good predictable. And Femi got the win by doing a variation of his power bomb, but almost like a Batista bomb, which I actually like that better than like the latter. But Femi got the win, and Wes Lee can no longer challenge for the North American title. Thoughts?
I think this was a very great match. I will say this: the end was a little sloppy,
right?
And I think it's because of Obafemi is not used to going this long in a match like this with a small guy.
I noticed.
He's usually squashing small guys like Wes Lee, and he was a little gassed out there. It didn't really take much away from the overall match, but if there's anything to nitpick on, I think Oba needs to start condition himself a little bit more for matches like this. But outside of that, this match was fantastic. When you have someone the capability of an Obafemi, a freak athlete, strong as hell, you got someone like this who's dynamic in the ring and a great high flyer and who could do a whole bunch of risk taking shit. It's gonna make it for a good match, and very much well did. There was a point of the match where you thought that Wes Lee was really they really had a chance on winning. Obafemi, he prevailed. He's still the North American champion. Now the next question is, who's gonna take the title from him? I will say someone on the card tonight, that was in the final match, has that opportunity, and if you can guess who that is, you know what I mean? But outside of that, I thought this was a really good match. Wes Lee, he did an interview afterwards, saying like, well, I don't know where I go from here. I don't know what I'll do. I think this is where we get the Rascals. I think this is where we're going to see the Rascals pick him back up and like, hey, remember who you are. You know what I mean? Like, you're Wes fucking Lee, type of thing. So I really think this is where we're going to start to see the Rascals. Probably not immediately. Maybe we'll see him on Tuesday. Possibly. It's possible. But I will say that the Rascals are going to get involved to give Wes Lee that needed motivation. Because right now it feels like, oh man, I can't do this. You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't been the same since I've been back. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity for the Rascals to get involved with this TNA NXT partnership.
Jeff?
I agree with Justin on the Rascals thing. I was sure of it a few weeks ago when Wes Lee kept getting beaten up by Gallus, who are 3 guys. Now Gallus seems to be dealing with this other tag team. I can't remember the name of the new tag team, but Tariq and what's the other guy's name? Anyway, you all know who I'm talking about. I can't do 2 things. And I don't follow TNA, but I do believe that the Rascals in TNA are harassed and tormented by a 3-person group over there. So, certainly there's a lot of room for that crossover. And I think that Triple H has sort of wanted to bring back in, and just feels like he can't go back on that because of the very unfortunate photo the guy took when he was several years younger, and made it to social media. Anyway, but I think that's where it's going. But on this match itself, I wanted to love the match. I liked the match, but there were too many near misses that you could see the misses. So they weren't that near misses. There were too many where it was obvious that they missed. And Vic Joseph tried to cover for a few times, saying he didn't get all of it, but he had to say that too many times for it to be convincing. That might be what Justin was alluding to, where Oba maybe was gassed. I don't know. This very much looked like a developmental match.
Right.
And it's probably good that it went on first, because you could forgive it all and sort of, and it could sort of set the tone, and the rest of the card overachieved. On the positive, I look at Obafemi and I just think to myself, man, this is what AEW could have done with Wardlow. Now, obviously, they couldn't have made him an African warrior character. That would be silly. Though it might have been funny enough that it might have worked. I just mean the aura, the presentation, the title held early, the dominance, the I'm not afraid of anyone. And there was time before Wardlow absolutely lost his confidence and realized that nobody in the back really gave a shit about him, where he actually could speak okay and seem convincing if he didn't speak a lot. And then they let him speak not at all, then they let him speak too much. And you could just tell he lost all confidence, or he knows nobody has confidence in him. And Obafemi coming in as a college athlete, a shot putter without any pro wrestling experience. I'm not even sure if he was a fan. Coming in and just his body language, his aura, his charisma, the way he uses his face. He can talk also. No one expected that he could talk. And in the beginning, he spoke very little. But he's letting it out a little bit more at a time and showing he's got a personality. He's quick on his wits. I was going to say quick on his feet. He's really not quick on his feet. He's quick with his wits. He's almost perfect. Like in a year, he might be perfect. And like I hear people complain that NXT doesn't produce any people for the main roster. A, you're wrong. B, if NXT produces more than 2 or 3 men and women each year, that's probably too much. And they are already doing that. I mean, it's like WWE almost has to expand and has to have partnerships with other promotions just to have places to send this talent they're developing. Anyway, the sky's the limit for Obafemi. One thing as a con for Wesley, this is the 2nd or 3rd time he's done this act where I don't know where my future is. I mean, if he just started drinking, he'd be Hangman Page.
No. Oh, God. But let me ask you something, Jeff, because you kind of brought up something that was kind of interesting. Like, this NIL program has been nothing short of successful so far. And for someone like an Obafemi, who we're not even sure if he's a wrestling fan or not, and at this point it doesn't really matter, do you think it helps to not really be a fan, to not get too attached to it?
Maybe. I don't know what to think. I mean, I think if you came from the indies, like a Roxanne Perez or a Javon Evans, some of those folks, they're still being hired, probably helps to be a fan of the old school,
right,
and the territory. But at this point, like, if you just became a fan in the last 10 years, I don't know, maybe you have to unlearn a bunch of things. I'm really not sure. I honestly think it really depends on the individual. I don't think it matters whether they were a fan or not. It matters have a professional attitude towards learning what they're supposed to learn and doing it. I mean, being a fan and a student of the game and tropes and promos and characters, I suppose, would help you. But like if you were a fan of just like, The Sopranos and other classic TV or good movies where there's heroes and villains, it all lends itself to the same thing. So, trash talk isn't limited to wrestling. It's just featured in wrestling. So I'm going to say I think it all comes down to the individual person.
All right. Good answer. Now we go to our next match, which to me, match of the night. You had Kalani Jordan versus Sol Ruka. match for the NXT North American Championship. Fantastic match between both these ladies. Might have been the best match of the weekend. Kalani, I love her. I think she is just really, really, really good. Not great yet. By next year, I think she's going to be great. Jeff said by next year, maybe Oba can be perfect. Kalani's getting there. Soul is not too shabby. She's very good. There were some points I kind of maybe winced a little bit just seeing that brace on her leg. I'm like, I hope she doesn't fall on it wrong. But, it didn't happen, obviously. But both women are great. They're both great baby faces. They went out there and just they owned the weekend. They were very confident. For two women who don't really have, I think they kind of have the same amount of wrestling experience, where they both came out of the NIL program, I believe. They really didn't have a lot of botches in this match. And that was kind of my worry. I'm like, this could either be a really good match or there's going to be some botches. I think there was like maybe one botch, and I can't remember what it was, but it was one of those things of like, okay, I'm invested in this match, I can forgive that. And, Kalani wins with her, one of a kind, which is, this split-legged moonsault a la, Van Dam. Love it. Love this match. I want to watch it again. That's how much I loved it. What do you guys think?
If you were to tell me that this was match of the night, I am not going to argue with you over that. 4 out of the 5 matches on this card have match of the night potential. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is that this was a match of the night for me. This was a great match. I just felt that it was too choreographed, because you can tell they're going from next spot to 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 next spot. Nothing wrong with that, because you need to plan out matches like this, because both of these ladies they're still very, very green. And since they're green, you need to plan out a match like this from spot to spot to spot to spot to spot, instead of making it a smooth transitional match. There were some things that were a little sloppy in this match, but again, what they did went fucking fantastic. Kalani Jordan, loved her since I first seen her, not just because of how she looks, but I see the talent. Sol Ruka, same thing. I see the talent, and both of these ladies, they overachieved to hell in this match. They did a fantastic job. The back and forth action was great. The spots are great. The poison ranas and freaking Sol Ruka did a springboard 450 clothesline, or a buckshot lariat, however you want to call it. Right? Never seen that before. I think she should add that. I think since she did that tonight, she should add that to her arsenal as one of her finishing moves. Like, she can use the Soul Snatcher. That's great. That's gonna be her main finishing move. Everyone pops for that, right? But she can definitely use that maybe as a setup, or maybe as a secondary finishing move for that, because I thought it was very good. She put it off very smoothly. It was really good. But Kalani, she's showing her promise. She's showing her promise by her learning and really grabbing this wrestling thing and taking the reins on it. She's not to the level of a Tiffany Stratton, because Tiffany was like on a whole nother level coming in. But I will say that, if a Tiffany's an A, freaking Kalani's like an A minus. You know what I mean? As far as her wrestling and really, really, really succeeding coming into it. But I really like this match. I will say this is the surprise match of the weekend as far as how well it was. I thought it was going to be a good match, but they really overachieved here, and I'm really, really happy for both women. Match.
Well said. Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, our whole conversation about the NIL before, these are 2 examples of it. Really surprised that no place during the show was there any sort of outside interference or, any distractions. The entirety of the show relied just on in-ring finishes. Yeah. And differences to get you there, which was very creative, but that's also good. And NXT, the Triple H and HBK NXT booking on a week-to-week basis, that, like 60% of the matches, somebody interferes and that sort of sets up the next feud or furthers another, some other storyline. But yeah, I thought it was really excellent. It wasn't my match of the night, but that's not a knock on it. There's just one match I think that stole the show, and because of the stakes involved also. But this was fun as hell. Both of these women are incredibly talented. Neither one of them had pro wrestling experience. One of them, I'm not even sure if Kalani's celebrating her 1-year anniversary of being at the PC, and Sol Ruka is probably a little bit more than that, but she spent 7 or 8 months out on the injured list.
Yep.
And the only reason I sort of discounted her as being like a breakout star is because I thought that she was sort of on the same schedule as Nikita Lyons, and they'd both be taking a much longer time to recover than they have. And Sol Ruka came back better. She came back better and stronger than she was. It's freakish, really. But they're both amazing. It was a great match. It was a face versus face. Nobody turned heel. There was no, raise the other person's hand and then clothesline them kind of thing. I don't know. It was just great. It was just great. It was a nice cold glass of lemonade on a hot day.
Ooh, I like that. I like that analogy. All right, moving on to the next match. Another surprisingly, I don't want to say surprising, but yeah, this did surprise me on how much I enjoyed this next match. NXT Tag Team Championships. You had Nathan Frazier and Axiom defeating Chase University, Andre Chase and Duke Hudson with Riley Osborne and Thea Hale. The crowd went bonkers for this match, and thus it was kind of making me go a little bonkers on how much I enjoyed this. Like, I had no doubt this was going to be fun or good. Nonetheless, but yeah, these two just went out there and just said, Kalani and Sol had a great match. Let's go out there and have a just as good match, maybe even better. I for a second thought Chase was gonna win, maybe because I like Chase. I'm biased, but yeah, I'm happy with the result. I don't know. I like Axiom. I like Nathan Frazier. I can buy them a little more than what's the two British guys on SmackDown? Whatever.
New Catch Republic.
CP Dunn and Tyler Bate.
Yeah, I'd buy. Pretty Deadly I like, but yeah, New Catch Republic.
Yeah,
but I'd buy them more than those guys, just personally. But really good back and forth action. Thea, of course, just having her personality jacked all the way up to 10. Just entertaining even when she's not wrestling. And in the end, like I mentioned, Axiom and Nathan Frazier won. I thought they were going to lose because the story going into it was Axiom getting mad at Frazier, saying, are you going to be there for me, blah blah blah. And there were some points in the match where it looked like Frazier inadvertently was going to cost his team the match, but nonetheless they won, and then they hugged, and they're still champions, they're still friends. So good for them. What'd you guys think?
This was my mat night. Because I'm biased towards tag team wrestling first and foremost, and also the great high flying spots. This felt like a RT type of tag team match. This feels like a Ring of Honor tag team match, and in some cases, not 100%, kind of felt like an AEW tag team match as well. But Nathan Frazier, Axiom, they're fucking fantastic together. I'm gonna say this. I hope that Axiom ends up losing his mask in some fashion, because I want to see him go higher heights in WWE. And if he has that mask, it's gonna hold him back. Just because you're gonna get compared to Rey Mysterio, and he's no Rey Mysterio. But if he takes the mask off and develops more of a character that way, maybe he'll go a little bit further, because Axiom's great. I think he's very underrated. I think he's one of the most underrated wrestlers in the industry. No one talks about him as far as how great he actually is, because he's fucking fantastic. Nathan Frazier is fantastic as well. They are, to me, one of the best tag teams in pro wrestling right now. Probably top 3, top 5, however you want to see it, but they're fantastic. Duke Hudson. Talk about Duke Hudson for a second.
Yeah, please.
He has came a long way from the poker player of that, right? And he's turned himself into a decent in-ring pro wrestler. He's not Kenny Omega. He's not, Seth Rollins or Ospreay or, hell, even Cody Rhodes or anything. But he's really good. He's really stepped up his game as of late. Andre Chase has always been good, but I think a lot of people just see his character when we see what he does on NXT and forgets that he can really go in the ring. So Chase U is great. This tag match was great. Just the near falls. At one point, you thought that Chase U was going to get the win. That was going to be a huge pop if that was going to happen, right? Nathan Frazier, they've been doing this for a little bit where he's kind of like teasing-ish, like a heel turn, and it comes out of nowhere. It kind of came out of nowhere again tonight, but I'm glad that they don't do that because I can see him as a heel. He just seems like that happy-go-lucky babyface. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see a good heel Nathan Frazier someday. But this match is fantastic, though. To me, match of the night, not match of the year or nothing like that, but I thought it was definitely one of the better tag team matches. I think it's probably NXT tag team match of the year. I'll probably say that. I feel good about saying that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, this was very good stuff.
Before we get to Jeff, I'm glad you brought up Duke Hudson. He really, again, he's slowly kind of becoming, maybe most wrestler of the year, or at least he should be in the conversation. When he had that poker player gimmick, it was just like, ugh. But being in Chase U has really given him a chance to not only show off his personality, but to really improve his wrestling. And a lot of those crop of wrestlers that came into NXT in 2021 when it became 2.0. Yeah. You're seeing it pay off in dividends. Duke Hudson, Tiffany Stratton, Tony D'Angelo, Mello. Well, Mello was already good, but like Trick Williams. Yeah. Jeff, go ahead.
I want the audience to stick with me for a little bit, and my co-host as well. I don't really care any of these wrestlers. Chase U is a gimmick that works in NXT. I honestly don't think it would work any other place, but it works in NXT. Duke Hudson, the poker thing wasn't his first failed gimmick. That was like his third or fourth.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, it's working for him in NXT. I'm not sure he's improved that much as a wrestler. He actually seems to be quite the same. I mean, while I see people like Obafemi, going from basically, mud to, a functional wrestler, I see Duke Hudson as only marginally better than Obafemi in the ring, and Obafemi much better than him in every other way. But if Duke Hudson and Andre Chase never leave NXT and in and around this Chase U story, that will be just fine. Thea Hale's Thea Hale, she's funny little spitfire, baller. I don't know about this Riley Osborne character. Ridge Holland didn't come in at all. I mean, I was really expecting him to come in and either, help them cheat to win and they didn't want to, or bollocks things up. I was really expecting more of a schism between Frazier and Axiom, and that didn't happen. This was just a clean match. And, everyone knows I'm a sizist anyway. So, Andre Chase is not a short person, but he's thin. To me, he's more of a manager type. But again, in NXT, things are forgiven. Axiom, I agree, he's really very good, but he's also really very small. So while I think he's more believable than Orange Cassidy, I'm not particularly invested. I disagree. I think you take a mask off of him on the main roster, no one will be interested whatsoever. Keep that mask on him. The funny things that he says, where he goes, "What? You can't see the look on my face," or "It's written all over me." I think that's brilliant. It's hysterical. And wrestling fans have told us by their enjoyment of Danhausen, Santino, and Orange Cassidy that you can use the same joke for years and people will still laugh. So I keep it. Frazier is wicked fast. He might be the fastest wrestler I've ever seen. The only two that I've seen that were close were Bandito and Dragon Lee, and I haven't seen Bandito wrestle in a year and a half, and Dragon Lee got a lot slower after, one, the injury, B, he came off the juice. Ron Breaker, Ron Breaker might be the other guy who's closest in speed, and that's just ridiculous as well. Even Ricochet, he's more agile, but he wasn't as fast. Anyway, none of these things are here or there. The point is, I think this was a terrific tag team match. And it had no business being a terrific tag team match, but it was. And I agree with Justin. I think this was NXT's tag team match of the year. I don't know if it was the tag team match of the year for all promotions or not. I'm not that kind of a, wrestling historian, but it might be. I won't be surprised if it is. And again, I'm not interested in either of these teams, not even a little bit. But this match, you could not turn your head from it. Even with Duke Hudson doing his bootleg Dusty Rhodes stuff, which was one thing when Cody Rhodes wasn't in the company. I don't know. It just worked. All of it just frickin' worked. And it was a great ending, and it was a surprise because you were expecting, shenanigans from all different quarters, and you got no shenanigans whatsoever. And the champions retained their titles, which is great. And, and they're building teams like Out of the Mud and Hank and Tank and, Idris and Blade and a few others. But I don't see any of those teams being the ones to necessarily beat them. Maybe Out of the Mud. They sort of, they're already in the shadow of Jada Parker, which is remarkable because they're huge men. Anyway, great match. Not my match of the night, but this match and the prior match were both fantastic. I mean, they're tons of fun.
You know who will beat Nate Frazier and Axiom? There's a chance. I don't agree with this, but I'm saying that this could happen. WWE may be signing possibly the Motor City Machine Guns. And that could be a dream match for some people. I don't know.
Sign with AEW.
No. They're in talks with both AEW and WWE right now.
Huh.
I don't see any reason why WWE would want to sign two guys, the first really very small and both in their early to mid 40s.
Oh, I agree 100%. Because I tell Drew this all the time. NXT is they're going through a youth development right now. You have some veterans down there. Sean Spears is the abnormal one, but like the other 99% down there is all very, very young guys in their 20s. And Ethan Page, he's a veteran too. He's like in his mids. And he just won the championship, but you weren't going to put Ethan Page on the main roster at the beginning anyway, so that's a whole nother situation. But they're going through a youth movement right now. I don't agree with the Motor City Machine Guns coming in to NXT or to WWE in general, but I'm saying that could happen. That's a possibility, and that could be a matchup that they possibly may want to do.
Keep joking that the WWE should sign the people from TNA and just assign them to TNA.
Right. Exactly. And well, they'll get paid more, so there's that too. So,
right. But all right, yeah, but great match. And does that bring us to the main event? Are we already?
No, we have the NXT? We have two more minutes.
Right, of course.
Next is the NXT Women's Championship. You had Roxanne Perez versus Lola Vice. I wasn't crazy about this match. It might be my least favorite match of the. It was in no way terrible or bad, so to speak. It's just, I don't know. Maybe this is just how I feel. I'm feeling. I'm probably the only one here that feels this way, but it's like a squash match in some aspects. And granted, Lola, in kayfabe, did hurt her hand, so she wasn't able to do her finishing move. So a lot of the rest of the match was Roxanne taking advantage of the injury and going after the injury, so Lola was basically fighting with one hand. Also, something I wanted to bring up, because there's a follower on Twitter that knows him. It's Johnny Z. And he brought up something that I thought was kind of interesting, where Lola did that promo on Tuesday where she talked about, when her mom was partnering with her, she was, fighting in the karate tournament, and her mom is, legit sick, and I don't know if she's bedridden or anything, but yeah, she is sick. So it seemed like not an odd promo, but I guess an odd promo for a match like this if Lola wasn't going to win. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I would just say this real quick. It's because of their try. Because remember, Lola was a heel at first, became babyface, and the crowd's behind her. They're behind her for the wrong reasons. Let's just be honest, right?
Yeah,
they're behind. Oh, she's hot. Like I don't think really people are behind her because of what she could do in the ring and on the mic. So I think what they were trying to accomplish was like they're trying to get the fans to be more invested for the right reasons instead of the wrong reasons. Did that work? Is it gonna work? Time will tell, right? You can't really tell, like a week, only a week into it. But that's what I think about that particular, the build for it, the promo for it. So, we'll see if it works in a long time, though.
But Jeff, what were you gonna say?
I was just agreeing with you, or the point that I think you said Johnny Z made. When I saw it, I don't think women have their chemistry together, and I think that. I really do think. Listen, I know Julia had wrist surgery, but I think that the original plan was that she would at least appear there, and it would distract Roxanne Perez, and Lola Vice was supposed to see if she could carry the belt, as a face, and then maybe have a few months as a heel, and then bring Biscuit like to Russia up there, and sort of take two with Ronda Rousey, but a better looking, more charismatic version of Ronda Rousey and younger. I do think that promo hurt her. I understand that she was from the heart and she was telling a real story, but I mean, I understand that she was crying because her mother was with her and age 10 or whatever. I mean, those aren't things to cry about. And I don't know. I mean, part of him cry, while he was playing football the day his father died. I mean, I'm just saying part of this job is acting, and I don't mean to sound cold, but I am cold. A champion doesn't do that, or if they do, they figure out a way to make it work. Maybe they realize they can't cut a promo, and so they tell the producers, "I'm not saying anything. I'm just going to stare daggers through her heart." Whatever, and they figure something out. But but they don't have that much physical charisma with each other either. And Roxanne went to the same move. I think she hit the whatever her Panama Sunrise or
Pop Rocks.
Canadian Destroyer, the Pop Rocks. I think she hit it 4 times during the course of the match.
Yeah.
It was a little too cooperative. Lola Vice keeping her injured arm behind her back to take that suplex in front of the announce table. I didn't think this was a particularly good match. I mean, physically, I actually think that Obafemi and Wesley were worse, but for whatever reason, it worked better on TV. I don't know. I think both of these women set themselves back a little bit.
Right.
I'm not really sure what's going on with Roxanne. I mean, she plays the heel well, but she's so small. I'm not sure she'll ever be convincing. And just when you think she's got it all clicked in, she starts stuttering and stammering in her promos and like forgetting promo class. So, but just judging the match on itself, it was fine. I like I said, I thought there was going to be a title change here. There wasn't, so I was a little bit surprised. And I'm always glad when the heel retains. So terrific. I don't know, but it was a match. I think that the match will be forgotten in a few weeks. I think the promo where she started crying hysterically for almost no reason might be remembered for years.
Yeah, you kind of said it best, Jeff. These two didn't really have good chemistry, and it's weird because they match up well. They're the same size. They both wrestle differently. Lola.
Lola towers over. She towers over Roxy.
I don't know. Either way, they both somewhat match up well, but in the end, they just didn't really have good chemistry. And the promo with Lola, I think, kind of just didn't really do her any favors. But
remind us all she's still in developmental, and she probably needs at least another year in developmental.
Yeah, exactly. All right, main event time. Fatal 4-way match for the NXT Championship. You have the champion Trick Williams versus Javon Evans and Sean Spears and Ethan Page. Javon Evans looked great out there. I thought this was a good showing from him. 20 years old, in front of a packed house on in the main event of a pay-per-view, PLE, whatever you want to call it. So,
would you say, and probably got to think, but would you say that Javon Evans is the best 20-year-old you ever seen in pro wrestling?
it's kind of a small bar. There hasn't been too many good 20-year-olds, but I would say yes.
He's fucking fantastic. He's so fucking good. Like,
I mean, Roxanne Perez was 20 also, so
yeah, absolutely, Roxy, yeah, of course. So yeah, there's a handful of names out there, but I really think that Javon is fucking dynamite. Like, imagine him in the next 5 years from now. Imagine him versus Seth Rollins or Will Ospreay or a Kenny Omega or a Cody. It's like, man, the dream matches, him and Carmella, oh my god. Like, just imagine like the possible dream matches with this guy, man. The sky's the limit for him, man. Like, he can be at NXT for the next 5 years, which I don't see, but he can be down there for the next 5 years and really develop, really became, and he can come up at the age of 25 and run, and become a main eventer in WWE in a year or 2 year time frame. Like, This guy has sky's the limit on him. As long as he keeps his nose clean, stays out of trouble, like, the sky's the limit for this guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's that fucking sick bump with him and Trick, where Trick just like shoves him in the announce table. That was crazy to watch. But this is a fun main event. I went into it thinking something different would happen, and obviously something more different happened. But a good back and forth action. Again, predictable, but predictable in this case was good. Paige and Spears pretty much agenting the match. Trick, I like him. Still very green. There's still some things that he's not able to hit right away. There was a, I don't know if this is just me that notices, but like there was a catapult spot with I believe Paige was catapulting Trick into Spears, and there's just like mistiming on both guys' ends. So I don't want to solely blame it on Trick, but yeah, he's got a long ways to go. Evans, like Justin just mentioned, very good for someone his age. Gets it. Still green, but again, this is developmental. That's what we're here for. And Paige and Spears just were out there agenting, basically controlling traffic. I'd say like maybe the last 5 minutes of the match is where it got really interesting. So just a lot of trading, finishers and Paige trying to get the win. There's kind of a weird spot at the end where Paige goes for his finisher on Trick, and then Evans puts Trick's foot on the rope, which, isn't it like a no disqualification match, or am I remembering things differently?
Yes.
Yeah, but it should still break up the pinfall, though.
Right. That's why he did it, so that he wasn't hiding it from the ref.
Okay. But anywho, towards the end of the match, Trick goes for his finisher on Ethan Page. Ethan Page falls on Evans. Trick tries to break up the pin. Spears grabs Trick, and Trick watches his title, reign end, as Ethan Page is now your new NXT champion, which I don't think anyone saw coming. No,
I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah, Mr. Justin here, he kind of threw out the idea on Wednesday, as of like a what if, but
yeah, I threw out as a what if. What I said was, do not count out Ethan Page on winning this match. But I did pick Trick Williams as my official prediction, though. But the reason why I said that is because that what else are you going to do with Trick Williams that is going to keep people invested? Now Trick has a reason to go after, Ethan Page and still be in the title hunt. Now, is he going to win the title back from Ethan Page? I don't know. But to me, we're getting close to SummerSlam. Do we see Trick Williams getting called up to the main roster? I personally think he should stay in NXT a little bit longer, but, could this be the end of Trick Williams at NXT? We're starting to get more people in this main event picture now. Is Ricky Starks going to be signed to NXT, and he's going to debut sometime near SummerSlam on NXT to replace Trick Williams. Possibility. So we gotta start thinking about things like that, because maybe Trick is possibly on his way out of NXT and onto the main roster, and maybe, possibly, I'm not saying for sure, possibly a Ricky Starks may be ready to come into WWE and come into the NXT brand to feud against Ethan Page, possibly.
Interesting.
A lot of stuff there. I'm just going to start with the match. I love this match. This match was match of the night for me. I wouldn't be surprised if Shawn Spears is actually the one who produced the match, while also being in the match to make sure it ran smoothly, because the couple of times where there was hesitancy, it seemed like Shawn Spears was waiting for someone to be in the right place or making sure things were in the right place, and he was definitely the ring general. But, and Ethan Page was helping as a veteran as well. It was fairly seamless. I mean, just a contrast to the night before where, when Drew McIntyre did his cash-in, Seth Rollins got thrown out of the ring and then disappeared for 10 minutes, over seemingly nothing. And it was very noticeable that in his absence. In this match, there was an impactful move, and Ethan Page was missing for like 4 to 6 minutes. And nobody was wondering, where's Ethan Page? Because you knew he'd show up at an opportune time. You knew that he was biding his time, and you knew that he took a big move, and they showed it all. Some of the moves were crazy. Von Evans, I mean, he needs to thicken up some. I mean, he can't. I mean, he can, but he shouldn't go to the main roster being that string beanie. But he's got to figure out to thicken up about 20, 25 pounds and still keep 80% of that agility. He doesn't need all of that on the main roster. They don't really want all of that on the main roster, or at least historically. Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who he reminds me of, and I keep like. It's like when they used to have the randomizer for the Royal Rumble, and you'd see them like flip carding pictures, and like Don Morrison comes into mind. When back Matt Sydal when he was Evan Bourne comes to mind. A little bit of Ricochet comes to mind.
Yeah.
Not Swerve, not even Shane Strickland, but Killshot comes to mind. I mean, just like he's like a combination of a whole bunch of things. He's not built like Cheeseburger, but he's too skinny.
Like Cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger. Every time I see
Cheeseburger's my size.
Every time I see Cheeseburger, I forget how sort of comically, how James Evans Jr. he looks like, from Good Times. Anyway, I digress. I just thought this match was a heck of a lot of fun, and I actually laughed at the end of it. Usually when I laugh at the end of a match, of a finish, that's not a good thing, but in this case it was. I didn't think Ethan Page was winning this match. I thought Trick was retaining. And what else does Trick have to do? He's got to convince the world that he can both wrestle and be convincing, cut good promos as a face, because he's been a fairly boring face. He's a great heel, and he was a great sort of sidekick, supplement or even co-equal with Mello. But on his own as a face, he's been a little bit too candy cornish. So I was hoping that he could step it up and be a little bit more of the badass face. And maybe this gives him the opportunity to be in the badass face that's in the chase. And he's got other things in way of the chase, such as Von Evans, who has a claim, to be in a rematch, as does Shawn Spears, who's got a claim. And then, of course, at the end of the show, we saw for a split second you would have missed it, but Joe Henry's face appeared. Nice. So, Ethan Page against Joe Henry, that's perfect. One guy who sort of made his name mostly in TNA, or when it was Impact, and one guy who's, now, probably the most famous person in TNA. And looks like that's going to be a collision. As far as Trick coming up to the main roster, I do think it's too soon, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't a Royal Rumble, entrant with the music and people going along with it. Put him on Raw. He can be like the Raw equivalent of LA Knight to see if he gets over organically with the help of the music and the NXT crowd behind him, and see what happens. But I love this match. I just thought it was a shitload of fun, and it was very unexpected. Even if you expected Ethan Page to win, and there are people who did, I'm not one of them, but there are. If it was just for the petty reason of saying, AEW fumbled another champion. But even if that was your motivation picking Ethan Page, I just think I didn't see it coming. It was fun the way it happened. It was freakish, so everyone's sort of protected. And I don't know, I just the look on his face, it's, he plays the heel. He's sort of like a Miz kind of character. He always says he's going to win, but he never really looks like he's going to win, but he does. I'm digging it. I dig the whole thing. I thought this show was hot. It's Sunday. It's 2.5 hours. I'm giving it A+. What can I tell you?
Yeah, nice.
They did the Backlash 2007 ending, by the way, too. That ending sequence. So not obviously not the exact same way, but the same style, of course.
Of course.
Nice. Well, I guess Jeff already gave his overall grade. So I guess Justin, what's your overall grade for this show?
Well, Drew, I know the order. I'm a long-time listener,
I appreciate it.
I give this an 8. I give the overall show 8. Nothing was like match of the year, but I felt like every match, except for the Roxanne and the Lola Vice match, which I still thought was fine. It was a fine match. It wasn't terrible. I thought every match lived up or exceeded expectations. So tonight, 8 out of 10. I thought it was a very, very fun show.
I'll give it an A-. I just, like you said, every match, with the exception.
So what's an A-? Is that like a 9 out of 10 then?
Yeah, 9 out of 10 personally for me.
Okay.
Gotcha. Other than the Roxanne and Lola match, which granted wasn't terrible, so to speak, it wasn't as good as it should have been, and it showed that Lola really does need more training. But overall, this show exceeded my expectations. Like Justin said, not everything is match of the year, but match of the weekend, like damn sure. Like, the main event, I know Jeff loved the main event. I thought the main event was really good. If you thought the main event was match of the weekend, I won't argue with you. If you thought Kalani and Soul was match of the weekend, I won't argue with you. And Justin's choice, if you thought the tag match was match of the weekend, I won't argue with you either. So you definitely have, some choices to choose from this weekend. So 9 out of 10 for me. So, but I guess lastly, pick your favorite and least favorite match.
Well, I mean,
we already know, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I think we basically covered that. But least favorite match was the women's championship match, NXT championship match, Roxy and Lola. Then my best match was the tag team title match.
My match of the night was obviously the main event, which I've said 3 times now. I really wanted the tag team match to be one that I had no interest in, but it wasn't. So then I decided that the men's North American Championship was the worst piece of the near misses, but I really wasn't invested at all in Lola versus Roxanne. And maybe it's because I wasn't, Lola to me is, even though they recently sort of turned her face, really turned her face. It's just we were supposed to all agree that she was now a face. Just because she did such a great job in Underground. And she did. That was the best Underground match I'd ever seen. But, it's not really clear that Shayna's a heel in that. I mean, so the whole thing with Lola, well, I have her working with the right people. I think they're maybe working on the wrong things or under the wrong assumption that they're thinking that... I think they wanted to put the rocket on her. They planned to put the rocket on her, but then they realized maybe it was a SpaceX rocket, and a lot of things still blow up before they get it right. So that was my least favorite match of the night, but I still gave the show an A+. I'm grading it on the fact that I pay for Peacock already. I already paid for Money in the Bank, so to speak. And it's a Sunday, and it was 2.5 hours, in and out, done, wham, bam, thank you, man. I mean, I'm inside, eating Italian food that we brought in and in the air conditioning. I mean, this to me, this saves me money.
Lovely. Yeah, my match of the night was, Kalani and Soul. I actually want to rewatch this whole show just so I can watch, the 3 matches we talked about. Least favorite, Lola, Roxanne. We just discussed it, ad nauseum. So. That was NXT Heatwave, people.
One last thing, because I feel that we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we don't mention this. Did everyone saw the tease at the end of the show?
Joe Hendry?
Joe Hendry.
Yes. So, yes. Obviously, it didn't seem like it was a plant because everyone on Twitter right now, including like the TNA wrestlers, are talking about it. So there were some people that are bringing it up like, oh, was that a mistake? Because at first I was like, was that a mistake? Possibly. Maybe, right? Because it was so abrupt. But maybe Joe Hendry versus Ethan Page is going to be that feud, possibly. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
You know, ex-AEW wrestler versus current TNA wrestler for the NXT title. No, I'm just being a dick. But I love Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. The song is catchy as fuck. How long will it last? We'll never know. But you know, it's over right now.
You know what? You asked something earlier. Actually, Justin asked, "What else is there for Trick to do?" Maybe the thing for Trick to do is learn how to wrestle with people who haven't been trained in the WWE system, and maybe that is a Joe Hendry and other people in Impact, you know, among other places. So I think that's one of the good things about these interpromotional agreements, sort of on the, you know, WWE's developmental. You know, the other brands don't have developmental necessarily, but some of these WWE wrestlers, you know, everyone says they only know how to wrestle one style or their own style, or, you know, all the matches look the same, which I disagree with. I think it's a little bit overrated, but I know what they mean. But if you go to Impact and you go to AAA and you go to Noah and this, that, and the other thing, and you wrestle with wrestlers in different styles and you have to put on the show and the production, you know, there's a little bit less direction. You're going to learn. You're going to learn. And so maybe that's what's next for Trick, chasing. But part of the chase is Joe Hendry. Or there's a, you know, triple threat. And, you know, Ethan Page is the guy that takes the pin to protect them both. So neither promotion looks like a loser in it. So anyway, I don't even know where I started with that. But
I'll just comment off that, just kind of piggyback off that. Another possible match that I think that could happen. This is not something likely, but just throwing it out there. Maybe it could, you know, formulate something. Since Trick doesn't have the NXT championship as of right now, maybe it goes after the TNA championship, him versus Moose. I think that'll be something. I think that's something that fans will probably want to see. Number one, and also number two, that'll get Trick to get more reps in, and he'll go to another company to learn, you know, to, I guess not really learn a different style, but to work a different style of match in front of a different crowd. So I think that'll be good for him too as well.
Yeah, agreed. I was actually gonna throw that out. Like, what if Trick goes to TNA, or, you know, another idea, you know, WWE's working with other companies like Bloodsport, like GCW is Bloodsport, but maybe even send Trick to Japan to kind of like finesse his moveset. You know what I mean? But yeah, Trick in TNA, I wouldn't mind that. But Jeff, are you down to stay for the Money in the Bank?
I will stay until my back tells me I can't.
All right, if you need to tap out, just let me know. All right, so Money.
We're doing great.
What was that?
We're doing great. It's been an hour, so yeah.
All right, we'll try to go through this as swiftly as possible. So, Money in the Bank was yesterday, July 6th, in the same city, same arena. Attendance was 19,858. There were 5 matches, so good. Like tonight, the first match of the night was the Money in the Bank men's ladder match, for a men's championship match contract. You had Drew McIntyre, Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, Jey Uso, LA Knight. As usual, LA Knight gets a big reaction. LA Knight gets a big reaction. Jay got a big reaction. Andrade got no reaction. Like, no reaction at all. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, I like Andrade. I feel bad for him. Yeah, this was basically a car crash match. It was fun. I enjoyed it for what it was. Chad Gable might be the MVP of the match because he was just suplexing the shit out of people in this match. He suplexed everybody. I think he suplexed Drew. There was a point where he suplexed Andrade onto a ladder. My wife, as you all know, Betty, we're all watching the match, and she was like, you know what? I don't think I've ever seen somebody actually hang off the briefcase in midair. And then Chad Gable, ends up hanging off the briefcase in midair, just like flicking his feet around. She's like freaking out. She's like, oh my God, I called it. And then I forget who, I think it was Drew, who grabbed him, and he just fucking like landed face down on the mat. Like, geez, Chad.
Hell of a bump to take.
Yeah, Chad's a trooper. And then towards the end of the match, I believe it was Chad going for the briefcase, and then you just see off screen a ladder being thrown in Chad's face by Drew, and then Drew gets the ladder, or no, Drew comes up the ladder, grabs the briefcase, and now Drew's your Money in the Bank winner. Thoughts on the match?
That was a good Money in the Bank ladder match. Andrade, Carmelo, and Chad Gable were the MVPs of this match. I thought those three, the spots that Melo was taking with Andrade was fucking insane. The spot that we already talked about it, playing face first from Chad Gable was insane as well. Jay, LA, and Drew, they took the safe route. And there's nothing wrong with it, but they just took the safe route in this match as well. Drew won, which was the right choice, which was the only choice, in my opinion. And, yeah, I mean, what do you expect? It was a run-of-the-mill ladder match. Nothing bad about it, but it wasn't anything fantastic, memorable. I'm not going to remember this ladder match, by the end of the year, possibly. But Drew won, so that was good.
Are y'all surprised that there are no interferences in the match? Because I was almost positive that Logan Paul would at least come out and fuck with LA Knight. Or
I mean, I was surprised about that. But that was my only surprise. I wasn't suspecting. I had people tell me in my shop today, "Oh man, you didn't see the White Six? They didn't come out." Like, why would the White Six come out so they can have like a 20-minute long entrance and for a spot for 30 seconds? Like no, they were not needed here in this match.
Right, Jeff, go ahead.
I was surprised that there wasn't interference, not necessarily in the match. So I absolutely expected the Wyatt Six, but I'm not really sure where I expected them. But I expected them to torment, harass, and try to kill Chad again. I'm not sure why they're targeting Chad, but it would have made sense and it would have been a pop. I expected there to be some sort of connection between Jey Uso and the Bloodline, but one thing they have definitely told us in not doing that, and not talking about Jimmy, and not bringing Hikuleo yet, they are taking their darn sweet time, and they're slow cooking this bad boy. And while they're building the anticipation, just like they did the finish the story took 2 years, not 1 year. So a lot of anticipation. So when I complained that when Triple H said there were expect some big surprises, people yell at me that there were surprises, and I guess I was just expecting bigger surprises or more shenanigans, as I like to say, and there was almost none, and we didn't get it. It's not necessarily a complaint. It's just, I don't want, Triple H always says, we're just getting started. Expect big, surprises. It's sort of like Tony Khan saying, I've got a major announcement. And I sort of feel like there's a little bit of boy who cries wolf, though, to Tony Khan's credit, in the course of the years, probably 3 to 5 of them have been major announcements. To Triple H's credit, a lot of what he's done has turned out to be really great decisions long term. Anyway, the match itself, I enjoyed it. It's weird how little of a reaction Andrade gets, to be frank. I never really saw much of him, but so many people are telling me how great he is. I never saw much of him in NXT. I never saw much of him in WWE. I never saw much of him in AEW. Not meaning I didn't see a lot of him. I did. I didn't see what other people were seeing, like star power, and the crowd echoed it. Carmelo got more of a reaction than Andrade, and the main roster audience doesn't know him. It wasn't that much of a difference, but yeah, LA Knight got the big reaction. Drew got a big reaction, a face reaction. People love Chad. People love the pounce with Jay. All of that good stuff. But Jay's story is the Bloodline. Sooner rather than later. But the match was fine. I didn't think it was great, but I was thoroughly entertained by it. but yeah, three people took the hard bumps. There was the one that Andrade looked really painful, and Chad a couple that looked almost as painful. That's not what the crowd cared about. The crowd, I mean, they liked it in the moment, but the crowd wanted to see Drew win. We all want to see Drew win. We all sort of knew what was going to happen later on once the men's Money in the Bank match was listed as first instead of later on in the card. So yeah, it was good. I mean, it was a good fun match. But I think Justin said it correctly. Is it going to be remembered? Is it memorable? No, I don't think it is. But I don't know. I'm to me, wrestling is eating popcorn, and occasionally they make moments I'll never forget. But I'm not someone who, if you say, what was your favorite match from SummerSlam, 17? I have no freaking idea. If you told me the card, I'd still have no freaking idea. So I'm not one of those fans. Like, I'm like a casual fan that's been watching for a really long time and knows a lot of wrestlers that most casual fans don't. But I, like how Drew said, I'm gonna rewatch this show. Like, it never would occur to me to rewatch the show. Like, I there's no wrestling show that I will ever, or have I ever rewatched a wrestling show from beginning to end, ever. Let alone matches. The only match I ever go back to time and time again, and by time and time again I mean 4 or 5 times in my lifetime, is when Brock Lesnar destroyed John Cena. So that's
perfection.
And every now and then Road Warrior squash matches.
Nice. Next is you had the singles match for the Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. Good match, very good match. Sami Zayn coming out to kind of a tepid response. I don't want to say like an Andrade response, but like you would think for, a Canadian, wrestler who's as popular and beloved as Sammy is, he would have gotten at least a bigger response. But no, it seemed like kind of just like a, hey, it's Sammy. We're happy.
Well,
cool.
Yeah, I thought he had a good response. In my opinion, I thought his reaction was all right.
I guess I was just expecting, yeah, Sammy, all right. It was more just like, hey, it's Sammy. Cool. Awesome. He's awesome. I love him.
Well, I mean, he's from Montreal. I mean, I know Montreal and Toronto have beef, so there's that.
Oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, good.
The whole Quebec province has beef with the rest of Canada.
Yeah, so it's like...
I mean, Kevin Owens got a big response, but we'll talk about that later. But good match. Braun coming out to new music. Good back and forth action. Braun... Again, he's young and he's going to get there. He still has a long ways to go. He loves to go at 100 miles per hour. I think that kind of did him in somewhat because he limped after that table spot. Again, not trying to speculate that had anything to do with the outcome of the match, but, just Braun, learn to take it easy in the future. I picked Braun to win. I think pretty much all of America picked Braun to win. But I wasn't surprised that Sammy won because I think it was on Wrestling Soup where I just threw out the idea, because I think Mish was picking Sammy to win as well, where I had said Braun loses because of his arrogance. And that's probably the best way to book it, because I think if you give Braun way too much, way too soon, it's not going to do him any favors. And, his character is that he's uncontrollable. Adam Page can't control him. And I think if, he were to lose, which he did, Adam Page can just be the one that says, I told you so. You're
Page? Oh my God, we're doing AEW crossover.
Adam Page.
Yeah.
Hangman Adam Page. I'm sorry. Adam Pearce. It's easy to get these mixed up, people. Adam Pearce can tell.
I thought we
were going to get AEW crossover. Fuck.
Sorry about that. Adam Pearce. The Raw general manager, not Adam Page. Adam Pearce can tell Braun, your arrogance, costs you everything. This is what I told you.
Saloon doors.
Forbidden saloon doors. And Braun's already getting over. Like, the people cheer him. The people do the dog chant. So I don't know.
Those things called? You guys are from San Antonio, which means like the 1840s. What are those cowboy doors called? Saloons.
I think you just said it.
Are they just called saloon doors?
Yeah.
I think so. The saloon doors. Yeah,
I assume that's your actual real front doors in your houses there. So.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, me and Justin hang out in plenty saloons.
I just figured that's how all the construction.
Don't you got some beer? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When I
everything like Deadwood there?
Yes, exactly. When I show up in Justin's shop, he's like, "Yeah, you no good son of a bitch! How dare you show your face up in here?"
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I thought he said Trixie's busy.
I'll be a Huckleberry. Great movie. But yeah, Braun losing makes sense. I think it's better for him. And more than likely, he's going to get his rematch at SummerSlam and he's going to win. And it's going to mean more. So, overall, what'd you guys think?
That was a good match. Sammy, he plays the role of coming from behind the underdog. He does that role very, very well. I did pick Braun Breaker, but I agree with the outcome. Because if Braun were to win, it's a little bit too much too soon. You know he's going to be a WrestleMania main eventer in the next up and coming years. You know that, so why rush it? Don't need to rush everything. Sami Zayn did beat Gunther as well because he's super right. Because right now he's being super Sami Zayn. So you can't have Sami Zayn beat Gunther, then just lose the title in 3 months. So. Whoever ends up beating him, it could be Braun Breaker. Maybe Braun Breaker gets another match. Maybe it's a triple threat match of Sammy, Braun, and maybe Sheamus at SummerSlam. That could be a possibility. But as of right now, Sammy needs to be the champion. And I just really you probably add Ludwig Kaiser to that match too as well. Maybe a fatal 4-way. But yeah, Sammy needs to be champion right now. That you do have an Intercontinental division too as well. But Sammy, he needs to be that guy that holds that title for a little while longer. And when I mean a little while longer, maybe a couple more months. You know what I mean? Maybe he wins at SummerSlam and maybe he loses it against somebody down the road, but before the fall starts.
Jeff, thoughts?
I think you guys both made excellent points. This was like the opposite of Lola Vice and Roxanne Perez. These two worked very well together. I mean, when Braun is running at full speed and Sammy does the the hopscotch move. Oh my God, English. What's the word where you jump over someone spreading your legs in the air?
Leapfrog.
Leapfrog, there you go. English, very good. Yeah, he did the leapfrog on the outside. That was fantastic. And Braun stopping himself from running into it because that's wrestling trope is the guy is like Braun Strowman would totally go into that thing, go head over heels. No, Braun Breaker stopped. I picked Braun Breaker to win. There's no line about it. It's all over Twitter. It's everywhere. I picked Braun Breaker to win. In my head, I could not reconcile how you had him just absolutely kill so many other people to lose to Sami Zayn. But then again, why not to Sami Zayn? The ultimate veteran, the ultimate, like, in the world of wrestling, not move-wise, but he's sort of like Spider-Man. He's like your perennial underdog. He's sort of like Daniel Bryan used to be, but Daniel Bryan isn't really considered an underdog anymore because he's so accomplished. But Sammy, still is your perennial underdog. He looks scruffy. He doesn't look athletic. He doesn't look particularly strong or tough. He doesn't even look like he should have muscles, but every now and then you see his abs. I mean, everything about him doesn't look exactly right, but he is the one to dole out the humble pie, and he is accomplished enough for it to not hurt on. I was scratching my head though, but that's okay. I mean, if everything in wrestling was so predictable, what's the fun in that? So I have no issues with it for exactly the reasons that you guys stated. He, too much too soon. He eats a little bit of humble pie. He was too aggressive. He's going to learn from this. Maybe it even becomes like a mentor-mentee kind of thing. Who knows? Sami Zayn has had really strange chemistry with some really strange partners over the years. Braun, he's been positioned sort of as a tweener. He hasn't really found his spot as face or heel. And I think Raw, which has 3 hours to fill, it does help to have a role as face or heel to sort of, decide where someone should go. But I thought it was an excellent match. I was surprised by the ending, but listening to your analysis and what other people have said, it makes perfect sense. And, let's just hope on Monday it's not, Braun squashing, two jobbers in a handicap match, because that tells you that there wasn't a plan. there's more of he bumps into Sami Zayn, they have a conversation, and then maybe Braun has another match where he beats someone, but, it's not quite as one-sided. Or if it is, he shows a little bit more sportsmanship. I don't know. I don't know where to go with it. That's why I'm not paid to be a writer.
Nice. Next is you had was John Cena before or after the next match?
It was after this match.
Oh yeah, John Cena came out. Or Trish Stratus came out first because she was the host of Money in the Bank. And she brought out John Cena as a surprise. He comes out. He has a towel clear as day saying, this is the last chance or something like that. And then comes out with a shirt.
Time is now or something.
Yeah, and he comes out with a shirt saying Cena Farewell Tour 2025. And just says, I'm here to announce my retirement from WWE, yada, yada, yada. And then says, next, I will be on the Netflix on Raw in January. Royal Rumble will be my last Royal Rumble. Elimination Chamber will be my last Elimination Chamber. WrestleMania next year in Vegas will be my last Mania. Not his last match. I kind of got that misconstrued. He said during the press conference that he will work more dates in 2025.
He hijacked that press conference, by the way, if you watched it.
What happened?
He fucking hijacked that shit.
Yeah, including said he'd be in the 2025 Money in the Bank, which theoretically means he could hold that thing for 11 months, 29 days, and 23.59 hours, or maybe one more day, depending if it's a month with 31 days. But yes, this was a big surprise. Everyone's saying that was a big surprise, but I don't know. To me, saying I'm retiring in 17 months isn't that big a deal. I understand it's promotion, it's wrestling, it's the farewell tour, but I mean, you say it's my last year, and then you go basically, I've got 30 or 40 more dates scheduled, and it says I'm going to be in the Rumble, I'm going to be in WrestleMania, that'll be my last WrestleMania, and then later on he says I'm going to be in Money in the Bank, which comes after WrestleMania, and if he wins Money in the Bank again, I just said it, you could last the whole full year, and if he successfully cashes in, what's he going to do? Break the record and just relinquish the title and have a new tournament? I mean, that's so I don't know. I don't feel like it was nearly as impactful after he kept having to retreat from what retire means.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it's Cena. At the end of the day, Cena calling it a day. Next year, whenever the final date is, I'm assuming it's literally the end of next year, if I had to guess. But yeah, I mean, it's at this point, Cena's already pretty much out of wrestling. He doesn't need wrestling anymore. He's been in Hollywood. He's making that DC superhero money, Peacemaker. He just came out on The Bear, on an episode of The Bear, which was a pretty big cameo. So I mean, he's getting work. He's really stretching his legs as far as acting goes. He's showing, that he can do a lot more. I guess he's trying to copy whatever Batista's doing, and saying maybe I can do what he's doing. But just overall, it was a surprise seeing Cena there, but the promo itself, like Jeff just said, it's kind of awkward, and in some ways it kind of brought the mood down from the crowd, because for the most part the crowd was, before this, maybe a little livelier. Afterwards they got a little I don't want to say dead, but just tepid. I'll just put it like that. But
it's also weird that, what does John Cena have to do with Toronto? I mean, you'd expect him to make an announcement in Boston or something. It just felt very manufactured, which in fact it was. It was very manufactured. It's just not one of the. I mean, it was a surprise, but it was a surprise I felt a little bit flat. It was not one of the surprises I won. So, I mean, that counts as a surprise, but again, meh.
Yeah, it's just for him to be like, I have a long history with the city of Toronto and the country of Canada, and never really explain what it was. It made no sense. But nonetheless, after this, you had the World Heavyweight Championship.
I can't say anything about this segment, I guess. You skipped me. You skipped me, brother.
Skip.
I'll just say this real quick. I'm not saying it's like, oh, WWE copy AEW, but what it is what AEW did with Sting. Because remember, Sting was like, hey, I'm going to retire Revolution next year, but it was a set date. This here is like, hey, I'm going to retire. You know, next year's WrestleMania is going to be my last WrestleMania. So we don't know his actual retirement, his actual last match when that's going to be, but he's going to be working 30 to 40 dates. But I will say this: he needs to work with these following people before he retires: Cody, Randy Orton. Fuck. There was 4 people. I forgot the 4th one, but Gunther. Those 3 for sure. I forgot the fourth guy I was thinking about, but anyway, like he needs to work with those people for sure.
Braun, Breaker, not Strowman.
Well, definitely not Strowman. Breaker could be one as well, but there was another guy.
Jacob Fatu.
R-Truth, his childhood.
No, it wasn't Jacob. Wasn't Roman. I couldn't think of it. Doesn't matter at this point.
R-Truth. John Cena was his childhood hero.
Yeah, but maybe, yeah.
Kofi.
Sure.
You don't like that joke?
Sure.
Say the third time, maybe you'll laugh this time.
Sure.
No, actually, I have a much better joke that's probably worse, but we now have brother-in-laws or former almost brother-in-laws doing almost sort of retirement tours.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. But so yeah, his retirement is going to be a big deal, whatever. But I will say this. Do you think that, just throwing the question out there, I don't know the answer to it, but do you think that John Cena breaks Ric Flair's record within these last 30 to 40 days?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that.
I do think he does. I think that Flair has become increasingly an embarrassment over an icon, and I think that they're pretty sure that John Cena will carry them proud, for another 20 years if they need to not break that record again.
I'll just say this. I think if Cena wants it, he's going to get that. And I'll just leave it at that.
All right, makes sense.
Well, I don't think I think he should anyway. So if he wants it, he should get it. But I don't know. I don't know what's in his mind anymore. I mean, his plan has been executed almost flawlessly. His life is pretty much perfect. He could probably do whatever it is he wants. But I do think the WWE, in fact, wants him to break Flair's record. And if you listen to his words, it sort of sounded like this was not really his idea to announce now, which is probably why it was a little bit awkward. Discombobulated, and why it's such a strange time frame. So, all right, but to me the answer is yes. You heard why. Let's go on with the show.
Speaking of embarrassment, next match was for the World Heavyweight Championship. You have Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins.
That's a weird segue.
You'll hear why. The stipulation being, if Priest were to win, Seth Rollins could never challenge him for the World Heavyweight title ever again. And if Seth won, Damian Priest had to leave to Judgment Day. I didn't like this match. This was not a very good match. Just these two, I don't know, something about this match was just off, because I remember they had a match before, and it wasn't that bad, but this match was just bad. I don't know what was up with these two. And just the fact that they kept both looking at the entranceway, because it's like, is Drew coming out? And it's like, just stop fucking doing that, please. You're taking me out of the match. It was just, this was an example of bad predictable. Like, this was bad predictable. Just bad overall. And again, I know people don't like Seth, and I know why, and I get why. I like Seth. The entrance stuff, the stuff he wears is too much, but I like Seth because Seth, at the end of the day, can at least have a wrestling match. Damian, I have to take back what I said on Wednesday. Damian is just not the guy. He is not interesting. He does not seem comfortable talking in front of a crowd. And
who's been saying this for the last 8 months?
You, Justin. You, Justin. You spun us.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
Justin with Spawn Mustard Tees and SpawnMustardTees.com. Damien is really not the guy. I want to see Gunther just chop him into fucking shredded meat at SummerSlam. Just that's the whole match. That could be a tribute to Brock and Cena, where Gunther just beats the everything dog shit out of Damian Priest. Like I want to see an assault happen. Like that's how bad I just want this title off of Damian. But nonetheless, so during the match, Drew cashes in during the match, and not when both guys are. Oh yeah, let me kind of backtrack a little bit. There was a ref botch. So Seth goes for curb stomp, goes for 1, 2, and Damian is supposed to at least, I think, move his shoulder. But he doesn't move his shoulder, and the ref, he's about to go to 3 and goes, 2 count! And the referee's like, oh no, the rest of the crowd's like, what? Well, what happened? That was bad.
Well, I'll kind of fill in right there. I think, this is my personal opinion, I may be wrong, I thought that Damien was legit not loopy.
Oh, okay.
In that particular segment, in that particular time, that's why he didn't kick out. Because why else would he kick out? The next spot was Drew to come out there. You know what I mean? If he was going to remain the champion all the way through, he would have kicked out. So that's my personal opinion. I may be wrong about it. We may hear news about it, but that's what I think.
Okay. So as
everything you guys have said, I mean, Damien looking out at the entrance ramp almost when the match started way too soon. That happened way too often. Drew cashing in the middle, making a triple threat is stupid. It's dumb AF. It's not how he won. It's not how he lost in a cash in. I mean, he knows the strategy. But I've heard all the excuses. I've heard that Drew's music was late, that the lights kicked on a different way too early or too late. Drew Yari has just blamed the ref for this. I blame Damian Priest. I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty of little pieces of blame to go around if anything. And I don't think and I also thought that maybe he was loopy, but it's clear that he wasn't about 15 seconds later when he gave a pretty demonstrative clothesline. So, right. So, Seth, as the veteran, maybe says kick or kick out, but it's not his job. I know it's everybody's job, but the primary job is Damien's. I mean, the ref, he'd look really stupid if he didn't continue to count and do the 2. He knew he had to say 2, and that Seth was supposed to be shocked by it. Damien has to know 1, 2, 2.5. It's almost 3-0's happened. I got to get my shoulder up. Even if it was redundant, he's got to know to do that. The champion needs to know he has to do that spot, and he didn't. And while I think Damien has moments on the mic and has moments in the ring, that right there told me you're not ready to be a top guy because you effed up in the most important spot on the biggest stage in your reign. The only thing really good that came out of this was that Seth Rollins cannot challenge for the world title again as long as Damian Priest has that title. The bad news is that won't be much longer.
So I'll just say this. Because I thought the match was fine. I think what everyone's focusing on the match was the cash-in and the botch, kick out, whatever. But I thought the match. Now, not match of the night, not match of the weekend. But it wasn't the worst match of the weekend for me either. So, if we do like the star ratings, I thought it was a 3-star. Thought it was okay. Yeah, I thought it was fine. But yeah, no. But I think I agree with you guys on some aspects. Why is Drew coming out during a triple threat match to make it a triple threat match instead of waiting? But at the end of it all, if it was booked the way that's gonna be booked, did it really matter? Did it really matter at the end of the day? I don't know. I just think that this was more for story, more else than anything. Damien and Seth, I don't know why they were at stage, but if I can think from a wrestler standpoint, maybe it's, oh man, Drew said he was going to cash in if he won. Okay, let me look back. Let me see if he's coming. That's the only excuse I can think of. It was dumb, yes, it was stupid, but that's probably the only reason why I think they were doing that, seeing if he was going to cash in or not. But But I digress. I digress.
I don't even think the match was fine. I think the match was actually pretty bad. And I don't think anyone's going to remember anything in years to come except for the missed kick out. I don't know that they're going to remember that CM Punk cost Drew again, which we're not even mentioning because some of us are harping on the botch or not botch, and others of us are trying to minimize it. But I think that's all that's going to be remembered. I don't think these guys work particularly well together. And if you take Drew Yari's school of thought, not Drew McIntyre's necessarily, but if Seth can carry anyone in a match, that's more of an indictment on Priest on top of that. But anyway, I've gone overtime and twice time, but it's funny that nobody even mentioned CM Punk until now, because that was...
Let me get to CM Punk. So, as we all know, Drew cashed in, blah, blah, blah. CM Punk interferes in the match. Now that's a triple threat, no rules, blah, blah, blah. Beats the shit out of Drew, strangles him with a cord, a la Daniel Bryan and whatever the fuck's his name, Justin Roberts. And speaking of Justin got booted out. I don't know what the fuck happened. But anyways, and then hits Drew with the title. Again, I think it was Jeff that mentioned this because he was kind of doing comparison with the AEW show. When Ethan Page got knocked out, or not knocked out, but like rolled out of the ring, there was a reason to it. When Seth Rollins got knocked out of the ring for a few minutes, it made no fucking sense, because why didn't Seth Rollins just take advantage of the situation and pin Drew? Instead, Damian wins, and then Damian looks at Punk funny because he didn't want any interferences. No, he didn't want Judgment Day interfering. And then he gets mad for CM Punk interfering. And then Seth slowly walks over to Punk like, you son of a bitch. And it's just like, if I'm CM Punk, like obviously they're gonna try and do Punk and Seth at Mania. Like, if Seth were to bring that up, like, you cost me my title, like, Punk can be like, dude, I had him right there for you. You could have just pinned him. It's your fault. So, just, again, it made Seth look stupid. And also, Jeff brought it up, and I'm glad he did. Damian's not going to be champion for much longer, because Gunther's getting that belt. So, it's just like, what does Seth really have to be mad about? So, this match didn't really do anyone favors. It didn't do Seth favors. Definitely didn't do Damian any favors. Like, really, it didn't. Again, it was predictable. We knew Drew was going to cash in. But again, it's one of those things of like, is Drew really a heel and is Punk face, even though Punk gets cheered? But I don't know. This was not a good match at all.
What did you guys think about them giving the Money in the Bank contract to Drew to lose here?
Go ahead, Jeff. You might have a... Go ahead.
I mean, one sort of minor thing, they did the same stipulation on back-to-back cards in the same promotion. If you don't win, you can never challenge me while I hold this title. I think that's a little bit weak. I realize there are two different brands, sort of, but stipulations on PLEs should be coordinated. I don't mind the Drew cashed in night one. I just think the way, first of all, the botch spoils whatever happens afterwards, no matter what. But I think the timing was dumb. He made it a triple threat. Nobody was clearly, so loopy that he was taking advantage of things. And the whole machination of handing the case over and the ref making it official and then waiting to ring the bell, so it takes away that element of surprise, or that if somebody is a little bit loopy, they have time to recover. That's what happened. Drew walked into a super kick. I don't like really any of that. I don't know when that became a thing. I mean, you just come in, slide the ref. I know why they did it, because they can have more drama, and you can have Tyson Fury, punch Austin Theory, out of the front row in Cardiff, and yay, 3 people think that's cool. I just think the whole thing was awkward. But if it's going to be the way it is, Drew not waiting till somebody was clearly, in a huge position of weakness, and even if he's going to come down when he came down during it, to just stand there and stalk and watch the match and decide whether or not to pick his time would have made more sense. So it made everyone look stupid. Damien made himself look stupid. Seth looked stupid by just being tossed out of the ring and acting like he was knocked out for 10 minutes, which I know they told him to do, but like the same thing happened to AOP about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it looked idiotic. These two 320-pound men, barely anything happened to them, and they're unconscious for 10 minutes. I just think the whole thing was booked improperly, and I'm not really sure that the talent did much to help it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I just thought it was bad all around, and people are going to remember the attitude on what was, overall a fairly pleasant show with my usual curve that it was just over 3 hours on a Saturday night, a nice evening in on a 97-degree at nighttime summer's day. I don't know. This was, well, the other show was like a nice cold glass of lemonade. This was just a lemon being put in my mouth without anyone warning me.
Jeff, don't be a lemon. Be a rosebud. Doot, 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 doot. Never mind. Yeah, pretty much.
Rosebuds. Most of them did pretty well for themselves.
Jeff pretty much said everything that needed to be said. I think we kind of figured what was going to happen because, Gunther was in the title match and he was going to face whoever was the champion. They weren't going to make it a triple threat. Punk and Drew doesn't need a title. That feud's already big on its own. But yeah, it was just executed poorly. And what Jeff just said, like everybody in it, all the stars in it, they didn't really come out looking good or even like different. It's,
I'll just say this in closing. There was a lot of people on Twitter saying that, what a waste of the money in the bank. People, you do realize I need people on Twitter to think a little bit. We just had a Money in the Bank going on for an entire year, almost, with Damian Priest.
Mm-hmm.
We just had the Money in the Bank briefcase be off our TV just for 3 months. Why would we need it back on TV with another wrestler for another whatever amount of time that is? That's number one. Number two, if Drew were to wait after SummerSlam, let's just say, that if Drew were to cash in on Cody or Gunther, he's not going to win the title.
No.
He's just not. So why waste your time? And also as well, this further feud with him and CM Punk, in my opinion. And this is furthering the feud with the potential feud, the ongoing feud with him and Seth Rollins. So, they're building callous there, with all this here. So I think they did. I won't say it was a great job or anything like that, but I can see the direction that they're trying to go in. Was it great? Was it greatly executed? Not necessarily, but I can see the direction that they were going in.
All right, 2 more matches on this card. The women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Yeah, Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green, Io Sky, Lyra Valkyria, and Zoe Stark. Chelsea is loved. The hometown girl. They really gave her the best reaction probably that she's ever had in her career. And Tiffy, of course. Like Tiffy, I think, or I keep calling her Tiffy, or she is Tiffy. But, Tiffany, was big everywhere. She got a big reaction at the Australia show a while back, and she got a big reaction now. So, I think everyone kind of picked Tiffany. I think Chelsea was maybe a strong second. I think it would have made sense for Chelsea to win. For someone like Tiffany, I think it's more like she can get it on her own. But she won it, and I'm happy because I think it kind of plays into the SummerSlam match with Bayley and Nia, where Tiffany is aligned herself with Nia. So maybe that is something that can happen at SummerSlam. But I don't know about you guys. I really enjoyed this match. This is my favorite women's Money in the Bank match. I can see why other people didn't like it as much. I can definitely respect why people didn't like it. Because, it was a lot of car crash spots. And you look at the men's Money in the Bank, you look at the women's. The men's seemed more safe-ish, Whereas this was very much like the women are like, okay, well, we got to go 100 miles per hour in this match. And they did. Lyra was like 100 miles per hour and then 0 miles per hour. And then 100 miles per hour and then 0 miles per hour. Io, like Mish just said, Io, at one point, like her and Zoe, like were dead for like 3 seconds. Like just that Michinoku driver on the ladder, that was just sick. And then Io doing her like pose, or like exorcist pose, where she's just stuck. I'm like that's perfect. I loved it. I liked it. Maybe I shouldn't have liked it as much as I did, but I did. Chelsea getting over her fear of heights, which was funny. Just like she didn't want to climb up a ladder because she was scared. And I like that they played that into the match. Who else? Naomi had just one job, and that's just to do something exciting. Like there was the spot with the 2 ladders where she was like being like stretched out, where it's like that just looks uncomfortable. But in the end, it looked like Chelsea was actually going to win it, and then good camera work from WWE. You see Tiffany push her off the ladder, and she falls through 2 tables. Like that's just again, Chelsea, love her to death. She's over. I think she needs to be taken more seriously after this, because the girl can actually wrestle. She can take bumps. She can take.
I mean, the actual table bump was more safer than the one that she took in TNA with her and Deanna. That one was fucking rough. That the one that they took.
Tiffany got the win, of course, as we all kind of expected. And then later in the night, she does an interview segment with Trish Stratus where she basically does the typical, oh, you're old, I don't have to respect you. So, I guess setting the table for that match whenever it does happen. But over SummerSlam, more than likely. What'd you guys think? Thoughts?
I think this was the best women's Money in the Bank of all time. If you were to tell me this is a top 5 Money in the Bank ladder match of all time, I wouldn't really second guess you on it. This was a car crash match. I felt uncomfortable at times. Some of the botches added to the match. So like kind of like the Zoe Stark when she does that flip, twisting, senton, springboard, whatever she does. That kind of even though she completely missed, her head hit the ladder, like that kind of added to the match. All these women did some crazy ass shit in here. Chelsea, obviously, we just talked about her, took that big bump at the end. That Michinoku driver from Io to Zoe Stark was great. All these women busted their ass in this match, and Tiffany won. That was the right choice. Chelsea could have won here. I would not have been mad at that. But Tiffany winning was the right choice here. And we'll see how long it'll take for her to cash in. Is she going to cash in at SummerSlam? Or are they going to have her hold it? I think they're going to have her hold it for a little bit because I think they possibly want to make some money off of a briefcase. I think they're probably going to do like a pink briefcase or something like that on it. I think that'd be pretty cool for her to do.
They love to have like these small groups that have everything. So, it's going to be Queen of the Ring Nia with, Money in the Bank winner Tiffany, and they're going to be taking their sweet time of it, and they'll be best friends until they're worst enemies, that kind of thing.
Possibly, yeah. That's another scenario too as well. So Tiffany, she doesn't need to cash in immediately, but that when she's cashing in, she's going to win the title. Period. Like, there's no way that someone of her caliber is not going to cash in and lose. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as the women's concerned, there has not been a failed cash in as of yet. And I don't think there has been. So
no.
So right person won. Hell of a match. This was my match of the weekend. This one right here was my match of the weekend. I thought this was a hell of a Money in the Bank ladder match for the women. Very, very good.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I don't have anything really to add. I will just emphasize that I thought that Chelsea was remarkable. She's fantastic.
Yep.
I don't know that they need to do anything more serious with her, because when something isn't broke, why do you fix it? I think it's absolutely perfect. She's had just enough success to still be taken seriously. I think she plays a role magnificently, and hopefully Carmella will come back, and they'll recapture that magic, because that was a great team, much better than her and Piper, and much better than her and Sonya. If not, her and Tiffany would be great. Some point soon, Ariana Grace. It's like, I don't know, like Chelsea. There's that seems like she goes with everything. I think it was her time, and it was the right call. So I don't want to go on and on. You guys covered all the nuts and bolts of the match. Some of these women, to me, weren't over enough to be in this match, but c'est la vie. It all worked out, and they're there because they're good workmen, work people, and that's Zoe, that's Lyra. Lyra's a rookie only to the main roster, but she's been wrestling about 10, 12 years now. I thought it was a fun match, and yeah, I heard everyone saying that there was botches and cringes and whatever, and I don't know if they were botches or if they were just impactful moves. Who knows? I don't have any idea. Is what happened with Chad Gable and Andrade a botch? If that wasn't, why are we assuming that if it happens to the women, it's a botch? But anyway, like I said, I don't have much to add, and I'm going on and on. I really enjoyed this match. All
right, now we're on to the main event. We're at the finish line. 6-man tag match. You had the Bloodline, Soul Sequoia, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, with Tonga Loa facing Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. Story going with Kevin Owens. His mom has been in the hospital since, I believe, Monday. There's really no story as to why, but in his words, she's fighting like hell. So, thoughts go out to, Kevin Owens and his family. But nonetheless, this was a SmackDown match. At the end of the day, I get why it needed to be on the show, because it's Cody. You need to put Cody on the show. Cody's he's the babyface, and of course you need to find a way to put Orton on the show and the Bloodline at the end of the day, because it's the Bloodline, even though it's not the Bloodline, it's the Bloodline. And you just got Jacob Fatu, so you want to test out your new baby, essentially. One, I thought Jacob Fatu looked great. I thought he at least looked like a wrestler. He looked like something. He was able to hold his own. It was interesting seeing with Randy, because I don't know, like for a second I'm like, Jacob Fatu kind of looks like he's the same height as everybody, but he really does look bigger than Solo. Not bigger. I'm going to retract that. He looks taller than Solo. Definitely taller than the fucking Tonga guys. And Orton just dwarfs over. Orton just makes everybody look small because he's a fucking giant at this point.
I think it's because he's wearing boots too, because he was normally flat-footed.
Right.
So like if he was normally like without his shoes, he'll be like the same height. But like since he's wearing boots now, then he gets a couple more inches. So.
But yeah, Jacob Fatu looked great. I like the stare down with Kevin Owens and Fatu. Book that, please. Make that a SummerSlam match. That's a match I think a lot of people want to see. And I just like Kevin Owens just staring daggers into Jacob Fatu. So yeah, he looked great. The rest of the Bloodline, I wasn't impressed by. Solo, I don't buy him as the guy. I get why he's in the position of being the guy, because it's to set up Roman to come in and beat his ass. But Solo, I just don't buy. I don't buy him as the guy. Jacob Fatu looks more menacing than Solo. Solo, just the best way I can describe him, he just looks like a nice young man. He looks like somebody that we went to high school with, that looks like the kid from the wrong side of the tracks, but he's just misunderstood. He just seems like a nice young man that would probably help little old ladies across the street. That's pretty much it. I just don't buy him as this terrorizing menace. Blah blah. Tama, I like Tama Tonga. He at least does the things right that he should be doing. Tonga Loa, I don't want to ever see again. He is not good. He botched 2 simple spots, which we'll get into. Matter of fact, we'll just get into it right now. There was a spot where he was supposed to just simply hold Randy Orton, and he botched that. And then there was a spot where he was supposed to low blow Kevin Owens, and botch that. I know Mish made the joke that, Kevin Owens has got balls of steel, and it's like, maybe so, but in this case, Tonga Loa botched a fucking low blow. I don't remember ever.
How do we know Kevin Owens didn't botch that?
I see what you're trying to do. But yeah.
I'm just saying that he's not really supposed to hit him in the balls, so maybe Kevin Owens botched that.
I don't know. Anyway, Tonga Loa is not very good. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay, but listen, I'm not the king of the Tonga Loa fan club, but I saw him in Impact with Drew McIntyre, then Drew Galloway, and then Eli Drake. It's fine. I've seen 2 handfuls of Gorillas of Destiny matches. Maybe a couple of videos from New Japan, but because they used to send them over periodically on Ring of Honor. I mean, they did this for 10 years. I said, they can work. Maybe he's only good as a tag team wrestler. I don't know. Maybe he's Stevie Ray. I'm not sure, but he can work. It's not like he's terrible. Maybe he's injured and they're just trying to hold the injury. But he's not so bad. And listen, Jacob Fatu is definitely the most menacing looking, but he's not. He's broader. He's in better shape. He's being portrayed as the killer this week, but Tama Tonga was being portrayed as the killer 9 weeks ago. But Jacob Fatu is every bit of 5'9". All of these guys are 5'9". Actually, the only one who's over 6 feet is Tonga Loa. In any event, I'm correcting you on minutia. I agree with the bigger part that this match was like a SmackDown match. In fact, I thought it was a SmackDown match in slow motion. I thought this match was fairly dreadful, to be honest. And I do agree that Jacob Fatu, if there was a highlight, it was when he was acting like a highlight. I don't know. And I think that Solo has been doing a pretty good job. I don't think he's at Roman's level yet, but I thought they were gonna, make it so by giving him just a small army. And so obviously he had to get the win, and the win kind of clean in a no DQ match, but I thought this match was really rather plodding and pedestrian. And Tonga was doing the same thing as Seth Rollins. He was lying out there. He was barely touched. He was lying out there on his hands and knees, ineffectual for a ridiculous amount of time. It's like, and the one thing you should be able to do if you're a New Japan and Ring of Honor wrestler is know what to do when you're outside of a ring in chaos. I mean, that's like the only thing they teach you how to do.
Right. Just kind of finish up the rest of the match. Cody. It's weird. I don't know if maybe it's just me that notices this, and I have really wacky opinions. Cody just seemed very he seemed like a non-factor in the match. Like everybody else is doing something. Orton was doing something. Kevin Owens was at least doing something. Fatu was doing something. Cody, it just seemed like he was there to get a reaction and then take the pin. Mish is saying Cody was a body, and that's so weird. You would think at least, again, I love Kevin Owens. You would think Kevin would just be the body. But Cody was just the body, which is weird to think about. That Cody, the ultimate babyface, is out there to just be the body. But Mr. Justin, on Wednesday, he did call it that, the Bloodline was going to win and that, Solo was going to pin Cody. And that sets up, the main event of SummerSlam, which we kind of already, if anyone, living under a rock, not knowing what's going on, you can kind of figure out what's going to go on in that match. So, but to Jeff's point, this match was very pedestrian. It's interesting. You said a SmackDown match in slow motion. This was just, it could have been so much better. I know Mish talked about on the show that this could have been like one of those like old school, I guess, main events of like in your house where like it just ends in chaos and, no DQ. It could have been like that, but it just, I don't know. They had different plans. It was a Bloodline match, but pedestrian, like Jeff Lippman just said. But Justin, overall thoughts on the match?
First of all, the Tonga logo piece of it, him botching the whatever, if it was a botch or not. I've been knowing about his crazy. He's had botches in New Japan like crazy. Tried to do a 619, completely fucked up. Had the little The high-low thing will kind of going fucking like, negative 5 miles an hour. You know what I mean? So it wasn't surprising to me, though. That's that. Sol Sikoa, I think he's been doing great in this role. I think he's been doing a fantastic job in this role. He's not level Roman or nothing like that, but for what he's given, he's believable to me. You're doing a good job when you're getting fuck you solo chance.
I'll give him that, yeah.
If you're getting that reaction, you're...
I think a lot of that more has to do with the fact that, he's taking the spot away from... Or they think he's taking the spot away from Roman and what they did to Paul Heyman. Which is nuts. The thing about that, Paul Heyman's now a babyface. Or he's getting a babyface reaction.
Right, but if the fans didn't care, or if they don't think that the guys believe in the role, they wouldn't say anything. They'll just be quiet on their hands. They'll sit on their hands.
Of course, they had the heel do dastardly and heelish things so that the fans would turn against him, and it worked.
Yeah.
so
it's working right. It's working right now. Do I think that he's a main eventer? Do I think he's gonna be a world champion or anything like that anytime soon in the next few months? No, I don't. No. I don't. I mean, I'll just say this: I don't agree with it, but wouldn't count him out win the title at SummerSlam. Just saying that. I don't agree with it. But sometimes we don't want to hear the truth. And the truth is that is a possibility.
I think that match is going to be overly booked like every other Bloodline match.
Well, I mean, it's a Bloodline match. Of course it is. It's involved in the Bloodline. Of course it is. We may see either Hikuleo. We may see, but people are saying Zilla Fatu. I don't want to see Zilla Fatu. He's nowhere near ready to come to WWE as of yet. He's not even close to be in WWE as of yet. But, yeah, I possibly may see Roman at SummerSlam too as well. But I will say this as far as the match is concerned. I agree. This was a SmackDown 6-man tag. Did I think the match was bad? No, I didn't think the match was bad. Did I think the match was good? I didn't think the match was even good. No, thought it was all right. It was okay. Got through it right. Did what I needed to do right. And really, at the end of the day, for what I predicted, Solo pinning Cody. That's the only thing that made sense. Nothing else made sense other than that. Now it gives the reason for Solo and Cody to have the match at SummerSlam. What's going to be the result of that match? Time will tell. We'll see how they build. But thought the match was fine. Thought the match was okay. Jacob Fatu, he did what he needed to do in his match. He didn't need to go full crazy. Some people on Twitter kind of complain like, "Oh, boy, this is not about Jacob Fatu." He's not gonna show all of his cards. He's not gonna show all of his hand in the first match. We gotta build up for a match to actually matter. One-on-one match to actually matter for Jacob Fatu to go completely crazy. But for what I thought he did fine. Kevin Owens did great, and the story with Randy Orton too as well. Randy is going to turn on Cody. It's going to happen. When is it going to happen? I don't know. But that's going to happen. That's another underlying thing as well that we got to start paying attention to. When is Randy turning on Cody? Will it be at SummerSlam? Will it be after SummerSlam? Who knows? But I will say this. This didn't need to main event.
No.
This didn't need a main event. They could have just main evented with Seth and fucking Seth and Damian Priest. But even at that too, I mean, it'll be complaints about across the board. You know what I mean? If the match stayed the same the way it went. But regardless though, I thought this match was okay at best.
It's weird that it main evented because it's like, okay, is Roman coming out? It's like, no. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
that was kind of the thought process, but nothing really happened. You know what I mean? So
it's also on Cody's resume as during his reign as undisputed champion, he's main evented X amount of PLEs. I mean, that's all it's for. And I don't even think that's Cody's idea. I think that's theirs. But everything you guys said is right. Just the one thing I want to add is that the bloodline, this bloodline, whether you buy into it or not, has to have gold for this story to work. doesn't have to have all the gold at some point, at the same time, but it has to have gold sooner or later. So the Guerrillas of Destiny are going to be your tag team champions at some point, probably sooner than later, because DIY, they get the Andrade reaction. And, I know that Triple H loves them, but who cares? But this match didn't do anything for Cody, and I think that there was also the omission of surprises. I think we were expecting a Randy Orton turn, or at least something that was more demonstrative towards furthering that, to make it seem that Randy might turn, even if it was just, or Kevin Owen might turn. I mean, but more Randy is what we're looking for. I think we expected Hikuleo to be there. Some people were expecting Roman. It's too soon. That's crazy. But we got none of it. And and when the main event is so flat, we got none of the surprises. It sort of is a flat ending. It was the ending that had to happen. It's just that it all went in slow motion, wasn't particularly well executed. And I think that Jacob Fatu showed out as much as humanly possible for the role, the parts he was given. Some people are saying that they're worried that he will outshine Solo and all that, and maybe they are. I think it's a false story, because Paul Heyman is orchestrating and tweaking and directing this whole thing, and Jacob Fatu will only overshadow Solo if that's part of the story that Paul Heyman wants it to be. So I'm not particularly worried about that. But they're going to have success for this to be, for their failures to mean more down the road, or their breakup to mean more down the road, or when Jimmy and Jay reunite and they recruit, Sami Zayn, or whatever the case might be down the road. In any event, I've said it before, that this match I thought was plodding and slow, and sort of felt like it was a little bit, maybe not quicksand's not fair, but like maybe they were all walking in like like a baby pool where it's like a foot and a half, so they weren't so slow, but it was, it felt ponderous at times, and the end was fine, but it did feel like a SmackDown end, not a PLE end, and I'm already repeating myself, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to stop.
All right, we will call it a show right here, boys. Any grades, number grades you want to give for the show?
7.5 out of 10. I thought NXT tonight was better overall as an overall show.
Agreed. Go ahead.
NXT, I agree, was a whole lot more fun, and I think it was actually better as well. I was going to give the show a C, which I guess comes out to the same as Justin, 7.5, 75 is a C. So yeah, I agree. It did the bare minimum. It advanced some stories. It solidified some stories. Met some of the expectations for stories. Didn't really live up to the expectations. If they're only going to have 5 matches on these PLEs, they really need to hit with. Probably all of them, but at least 4 of them really need to hit.
Yeah, agreed. I think we all have the same grade. I gave it a C+, so that's basically same grade, 75, whatever. Favorite match, worst match, picks?
Favorite match was the women's Money in the Bank. Worst match, I'll probably have to go with the main event.
Favorite match, women's Money in the Bank. Worst match, I just hated everything about the Drew cash-in, what the sequence before it, and everything that happened afterwards, except for Punk coming in. But the final match I thought was very underwhelming. It at least did what it was supposed to do.
Agreed. I really enjoyed the women's Money in the Bank. The Seth and Damien match was just bad, and it didn't do anyone any favors. So those are our picks. Guys, it's 10:37 p.m. here in San Antonio. It's an hour later over where Mr. Jeff's at, so we're going to call it a night. Jeff, thank you so much for staying up late with us to talk about these shows.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely, man. And Justin, of course, thank you for being a part of this, man. Great show.
Absolutely.
And thank you to everybody who showed up in the chat to listen. And who knows, we might do more of these pay-per-view review shows. Coming down the pike, there's going to be some changes for the show for the better. So, but I want to thank you to everybody. Thank you to Mr. Mish, for giving us this platform to do this show. Love you. Wrestling Soup in general, of course, Joe Numbers and Spitball Media, our friends over there. Of course, Mr. LIPPMAN, who's actually not mad. He's actually very happy. He's a very happy lawyer. Value our friendship very much so. Ruben Prime, we do our show Culture Attack. We do it every other week. We should be having a new episode coming pretty soon. RJ, little brother, we do our show of Revenge of the Savage Nerds. I've been putting out retro episodes, so catch those, and as well as a show I did with Mr. Jeff on our Patreon for Garden of Droom. I just put out the first ever episode from our Patreon, so look for that. And then, of course, Brother Monty, we all know him. Monty and RJ do Brooklyn Power Trip every Wednesday, so look for that. And who else? Who else am I forgetting? I mean, if I'm forgetting, Kevin Castle, of course. Yeah, we can't forget about Kevin Castle. And just shout out to everybody who's a friend of our shows, who has a podcast. None of this is easy, but support our friends. Support everybody with a podcast. But anyways, guys, me and Justin will see y'all on Wednesday. Same time, same channel. And that's about it, peeps. Take care. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari. It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari. It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.